Every time you listen to your own recordings and cringe at how amateur your voice sounds, you're actually hearing the result of terrible advice that's been passed down through rap culture like a virus. You see, you think your natural speaking voice needs to be fixed, enhanced, or completely transformed to compete with professional artists, but that assumption is keeping you trapped in a cycle of artificial performances that nobody wants to hear. But the frustrating irony is that while you're desperately trying to sound more professional, you're actually destroying the exact qualities that could make you stand out in a marketplace flooded with people trying to sound exactly the same. And your voice already contains everything necessary for compelling rap delivery, but the industry has convinced you that your natural way of speaking is somehow inadequate or unprofessional. Once you understand what's really happening when you speak passionately about things you care about, your entire approach to rap will transform overnight. So, in today's episode of How to Rap, we demonstrate your natural speaking voice is already perfect for rap. Now, before we begin, if you yourself are an artist watching this who wouldn't just like to learn from YouTube videos, but would actually like to go full-time professional level with rapping, click the first link in the video description box to get the Rap Voice Mastery course, which comes as a free bonus when you click on that page. It will give you even more guided instruction not available here, and it comes free when you sign up, so it's definitely worth it. But with that all said, let's get into the first insight in order to master your rap voice. There's a lie being sold in every rap forum, every YouTube comment section, and every studio session around the world, and it's destroying more careers than lack of talent ever could. Most aspiring rappers have bought into it without even realizing it because it sounds so logical, so professional, so much like what a real rapper would say. The lie goes like this: a natural speaking voice isn't good enough for rap, and anyone serious about the art form needs to develop a completely different voice to be taken seriously as an artist. So they spend hours in front of the mirror forcing their voices lower because that's what sounds hard, or maybe pushing them higher because they think it'll help them stand out in the crowd. They strain their vocal cords trying to sound like their favorite artists, copying inflections, cadences, entire vocal personalities, and the whole time they're moving further away from the one thing that could actually make them stars: the voices they already have. Think about this for a second. When J. Cole drops a verse that makes millions of people feel like he's speaking directly to their souls, what's he actually doing that's so special? Is he using some secret vocal technique that only platinum-selling artists know about? Is he transforming his voice into something superhuman that regular people can't achieve? Here's the truth that'll blow minds. Cole is literally just talking to listeners over a beat, using the exact same voice he'd use if someone ran into him at the grocery store and asked him about his day. Listen to Love Yours or No Role Models and pay attention to what's really happening. There's no performance mask, no character voice, no artificial enhancement. He's having a conversation with his audience, just with perfect timing and rhythm that makes every word land exactly where it needs to, and fans consistently describe listening to his music as feeling like talking to a friend because that's exactly what he's giving them. But here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is the part that nobody teaches in those expensive vocal coaching sessions. Every human voice already follows natural rhythms when speaking, and this isn't about some mystical energy or abstract concept. It's about hard science that researchers have documented and studied. When someone tells an exciting story to friends, when they get passionate arguing about why their team deserved to win, when they're explaining something they truly care about, their voice naturally creates patterns that mirror musical rhythm. Research shows that human speech naturally falls into rhythmic patterns, with stressed and unstressed syllables creating what linguists call isochronous timing, which basically means everyone is already speaking in beats without any training whatsoever. Voices speed up during the exciting parts, slow down for emphasis, get louder when making a point, and drop to almost a whisper when building tension. This is exactly what professional rappers do in their delivery, except they're doing it over instrumentals instead of over coffee. And the difference between them and beginners isn't that they learned some secret technique, it's that they learned to trust what was already there. Kendrick Lamar takes this natural voice concept and pushes it to artistic extremes that prove just how powerful authenticity can be. On tracks like ADHD or Money Trees, he's not performing in the traditional sense. He's literally having conversations with himself, letting his natural speaking patterns guide the flow. Even when he switches between different personas and characters on albums like Good Kid, Mad City and creating what sounds like multiple people on one track, each voice feels completely authentic and believable. The reason why becomes clear when analyzing his approach. They're all based on voices he already uses in real life. The voice he uses when angry, the voice when scared, the voice when confident, the voice when vulnerable. He doesn't create new voices out of thin air. He amplifies the natural variations that already exist in his everyday speech, turning conversation into art without abandoning authenticity. But science has revealed something about these natural voice patterns that changes everything rappers thought they knew about delivery. Understanding what's actually happening in the body when someone speaks versus when they try to perform completely changes how rappers should think about their voices, and it starts with the larynx. The larynx, that's the voice box for those who skipped biology class, has a natural resting position when someone's having a regular conversation. And this position is where all the magic happens. When talking to a best friend about last night's game or explaining to mom why dinner got missed, the larynx sits comfortably in its sweet spot, allowing vocal cords to vibrate freely and create the rich, full sound that is uniquely theirs. But the moment a rapper steps up to the mic and tries to sound like a rapper, something destructive happens. They unconsciously manipulate their larynx position, pushing it higher or forcing it lower, creating tension that doesn't just make them sound strained, it literally blocks their ability to express emotion naturally. Scientists studying hip-hop performance have discovered something that should be posted on every studio wall. The best rap performances don't fight against natural speech patterns, they amplify them through something called prosodic features. These features, the natural melody, rhythm, and emphasis of speech, are hardwired into how humans communicate from birth, and they're more sophisticated than any flow pattern someone could learn from a YouTube tutorial. When someone gets excited telling a story about the time they almost got caught sneaking out, their prosodic features automatically adjust without them thinking about it. Pitch rises at the perfect moments. Pace quickens to build tension, volume increases for emphasis, and they're creating complex musical patterns that would take a trained musician hours to notate on paper. This is exactly what separates artists who connect from artists who just exist. And Travis Scott understood this on a level that most rappers never reach. In real life, Travis has what people describe as a really deep voice that rumbles when he speaks, but here's what's genius about his approach that everyone else misses. He never tries to hide or fundamentally change his natural vocal texture. Instead, he uses production techniques as enhancers, not masks, taking that deep, raspy quality and pushing it through auto-tune, pitch shifting, and reverb to create something otherworldly while still maintaining the emotional core of his natural voice. His unique raspiness that fans love, that's not an effect, that's his actual voice being amplified rather than hidden, proving that artists can use all the technology in the world and still sound authentic if they're building on truth rather than trying to cover up a lie. The transformation from amateur to professional happens when rappers stop fighting their natural voices and start maximizing them. Now comes the moment where everything changes, where all this knowledge transforms from interesting theory into career-altering practice, and rappers need to understand something crucial before diving in. This isn't about learning something new, it's about unlocking something that's been there all along. The transformation from sounding like an amateur reading lyrics to sounding like a professional artist happens the moment someone stops trying to be someone else and starts being themselves at maximum volume. And here's exactly how to make that shift, starting with the very next recording session. First, rappers need to capture their authentic voice blueprint, and this starts with what's called the passion test, a simple exercise that's going to reveal more about a natural rap voice than any vocal coach ever could. The process begins by recording a conversation about something that genuinely fires them up. Maybe it's that controversial call in last night's game that cost their team the win. Maybe it's explaining why that new album everyone's hyping is actually trash. Or maybe it's telling the story of the craziest thing that happened last weekend. The topic doesn't matter as much as the emotional investment in it, because when someone's genuinely passionate about something, their voice automatically finds its most powerful and authentic state without any conscious effort. They shouldn't think about rapping, shouldn't worry about how they sound, just let themselves get lost in the story or argument they're making and talk for at least 3 to 5 minutes straight. Now here's where the magic happens. Listening back to that recording with a notebook in hand and start mapping natural patterns like a scientist studying a new species. Where does the voice naturally rise when building to a point? Which words get hit harder without even thinking about it? How does the pace change when setting up a punchline versus delivering it? Where do natural pauses occur to let something sink in? These patterns form a personal rhythm blueprint, more valuable than any flowchart or cadence guide, because they're specifically calibrated to that individual's voice, personality, and way of communicating. Next comes finding the power zone through an exercise that sounds simple but will revolutionize how rappers approach the mic forever. Starting by whispering a favorite rap verse, not just reading it quietly, but actually whispering without engaging the vocal cords at all, feeling where the words naturally want to sit in the mouth and throat. This strips away all the artificial tension and forced positioning, showing where the voice naturally wants to live when it's not trying to impress anyone, then gradually increasing volume, adding just a little more voice each time running through the verse until reaching the volume where someone could comfortably talk to a person across a medium-sized room. This is the sweet spot, the power zone, the place where voices have maximum impact with minimum strain, and it's probably way more relaxed than where most beginners have been trying to rap from. But here's the transformation technique that's going to tie everything together and turn someone from a person who raps into someone who commands attention, the conversation to beat bridge. Taking that passionate conversation recorded earlier and speaking sections of it over an instrumental track, not trying to match the beat perfectly at first, just letting natural speech rhythms interact with the music. What happens next surprises everyone who tries it. The voice naturally starts syncing with the rhythm, finding pockets, creating patterns that feel both completely natural and perfectly timed. This is because human speech and music share the same mathematical foundations, the same relationship between tension and release, the same need for rhythm and flow. Once comfortable with speaking passionately over beats, the transition to actual rapping becomes almost effortless because the foundation is already there. The natural voice, the authentic emotion, the personal rhythm patterns that make each artist unique. The biggest names in rap didn't become successful by learning to sound like someone else. They became successful by learning to sound more like themselves than anyone thought possible. With that said, hopefully you got some value out of this episode of How to Rap. And if you'd like more coaching, be sure to pick up that Rap Voice Mastery course below. We'll see you on the next one, and peace.